All right. For the Israelites are scattered among all people, and black is a complete social construct made up to control a false narrative. Same as white. What you're looking at on the screen is the invention of the white race. And this guy, it's Antonio Michi is his channel, but he's talking about the scholar, the historian Theodore Allen, which about, I don't know, maybe almost 6-7 years ago, I learned about Theodore Allen, and through Theodore Allen, I discovered Dr. Jacqueline Battalora and Robin DiAngelo. So, and these three individuals, but and used Dr. Jacqueline Battalora's research the most, but her research comes from the writings and the information that was gathered up by Mr. Theodore Allen on the creation of whiteness. So there's no such thing as white people. They made it up. So when you look at what's your race and background, ethnicity, and here in America, and it says white, that's completely and totally made up. It's a false social construct to control a very racist narrative. It is very racist and hateful in nature to refer to someone as black or white. All right. And it sadly is that they've blanketed our people with that nonsense to where they don't want to let it go. When you teach them that, they've embraced the false narrative that their enemy has placed upon them. This is 2 Ezra 6:27, and it reads, "For evil shall be put out, and deceit shall be quenched. As for faith it shall flourish, corruption shall be overcome, and the truth which have been so long without fruit shall be declared." All right, and unfortunately for many Israelites, they do not want to embrace the truth. They embrace the falsehood of blackness when their skin is physically and visibly brown when you look upon it.
All right, Shalom. I want to give all the praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai Bahasham Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders, a great millstone who taught me this truth. Shalom to the hopeful elect. I'm back with another quick lesson through the Holy Spirit of Rakakwadash. And I just wanted to briefly land back off the intro here from Elder Malcolm's video, going into black and white racial labels are man-made for social control and racial superiority. All right, and that inspired me because I saw this video the other day, and it's a quick video. It's about 1.5 minutes long, but this former so-called white supremacist explains why blacks are inferior. All right, so pretty much in this quick lesson, I just wanted to go through, so-called white supremacy myths destroyed. Okay, this Edomite, false narrative debunked, the creation of whiteness, and how, the so-called white man is the chosen people. You're gonna hear all this madness come from this woman, man. It's pretty laughable. But as the elder had pointed out, those myths and false narratives are being destroyed. All right, 2 Corinthians 10:4 says, "For the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty through the Most High to the pulling down of strongholds." All right, so these strongholds, these barriers are being broken. All right, so now the truth is being declared. 2 Corinthians 10:5, casting down imaginations, so-called white supremacy, the creation of whiteness, that false narrative is being debunked, right? Casting down imaginations and every high thing that exalted itself against the knowledge of the Most High, and bringing into captivity every thought to the obedience of Yahweh Shah HaMashiach, right? So we're going to play this video through, and then we'll play it again.
White supremacy is the belief that white people are chosen. It's based on Adam and Eve and Cain and Abel, and the belief that Cain murdered his brother Abel, so he was cursed with brown skin. That was then carried throughout the flood with Ham. Ham was supposed to have been the father of Egypt and Africa after the ark landed wherever it landed. That was what I was taught in church. A lot of my Christian friends, a lot of early colonists believed that concept, that the curse of Cain was why people from Africa were brown skinned. White supremacy to me was just, I am that pure lineage straight from Adam and Eve. I literally believed that my pure bloodline went back to Adam and Eve. Adam was handmade by God. God formed him out of the dust. And in the Bible, when it says that God made Adam in his image, to me as a Christian and a believer in the Bible, literally, that Adam and Eve was literal, that Heavenly Father was literal. I believed that God was white. I believed that Jesus was white. And so when they made man in his image, then they made a white man. In the Mormon temple, I would watch videos that showed Adam and Eve in the garden, and Eve had long blonde hair just like me. She looked like Erica Kirk in a little like suede dress that looked like something a Navajo would have worn.
Madness. All right. And see, the irony of it all is that you so-called white people are the ones that are really cursed. Right. And I want to make that point. So let's play it again and we'll stop and go. All right. But all of this madness is being uprooted.
White supremacy is the belief that white people are chosen. It's based on Adam and Eve and Cain and Abel, and the belief that Cain murdered his brother Abel, so he was cursed with brown skin. That was then carried throughout the flood with Ham. Ham was supposed to have been the father of Egypt and Africa after the ark landed wherever it landed. That was what I was taught in church. A lot of my Christian friends, a lot of early colonists.
Yeah, real quick. And that whole, curse of Ham is really going back to the curse of Canaan, right? Because we're not Hamites. Let's pull that up. This is out of the Bible, the Zondervan Compact Bible Dictionary. Ham, the youngest son of Noah, the progenitor of the dark races, not the Negroes. So why would these scholars say that? Because these so-called biblical scholars know who the true Israelites are. All right? We're not Hamites. We're not African. Ham, the youngest son of Noah, the progenitor of the dark races, not the Negroes, but the Egyptians, Ethiopians, Libyans, and the Canaanites, right? Let's get that real quick, and we'll go back. All right? It wasn't the curse of Ham. Just wanted to go through that real quick before we get back to the curse of Cain, all right? But this is Genesis 9 and 20, all right? So this is Genesis chapter 9. I'll start at 19. These are the three sons of Noah, and of them was the whole earth overspread. And Noah began to be an husbandman and he planted a vineyard. And he drank of the wine and was drunken, and he was uncovered within his tent. And Ham, the father of Canaan, saw the nakedness of his father. Okay, so Canaan saw the nakedness of his father, and told his two brethren without. Verse 23, and Shem and Japheth took a garment and laid it upon both their shoulders and went backward and covered the nakedness of their father. And their faces were backward, and they saw not their father's nakedness. Verse 24, and Noah awoke from his wine and knew what his younger son had done unto him. And he said, cursed be Canaan. All right, not Ham, but his son Canaan. Cursed be Canaan, a servant of servants shall he be unto his brethren. All right, so that's what that's going into. All right, this has nothing to do with so-called black people, so-called Negroes, man. All right, because when you read on, Canaan later became a servant and captives to the Israelites, all right, who are the descendants of Shem. All right, in the promised land, you can read that in Joshua 9 and 23 and Judges 1 and 28 through 30. All right, when the Israelites took over the land of Canaan, the promised land. But anyway, let's get back to the point. Okay, because what are we doing? We're debunking all of these false narratives that are put out here, over our people and these damn Edomites. All right, so let's go back to the point that we're making here, right?
White supremacy is the belief that white people are chosen. It's based on Adam and Eve and Cain and Abel, and the belief that Cain murdered his brother Abel, so he was cursed with brown skin. That was then carried throughout the flood with Ham. Ham was supposed to have been the father of Egypt and Africa after the ark landed wherever it landed. That was what I was taught in church. A lot of my Christian friends, a lot of early colonists believed that concept, that the curse of Cain was why people from Africa were brown skinned.
Yeah, so the curse, she's saying she was taught growing up in her church, all right? Like most of these Edomites, they were taught, through the curse of Cain is how black people were cursed with brown skin, or what they would call black skin, because we're not black, right? But I want to go through that, right? And just make the point that the irony, right? It says Genesis 4:8. It says, and Cain talked with Abel his brother, and it came to pass when they were in the field that Cain rose up against Abel his brother and slew him. And the Lord Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai said unto Cain, where is Abel thy brother? And he said, I know not. See? And Cain was the first liar, Where is Abel thy brother? And he said, I know not. Am I my brother's keeper? And he said, what hast thou done? The voice of thy brother's blood crieth unto me from the ground. So Abel's spirit was crying out against what Cain had did. Verse 11. And now art thou cursed from the earth, which have opened her mouth to receive thy brother's blood from thy hand. When thou tillest the ground, it shall not henceforth yield unto thee her strength. A fugitive and a vagabond shall thou be in the earth, right? So pretty much the earth wouldn't yield forth its full strength. The ground wouldn't yield fruit. It wouldn't Cain wouldn't have that productivity. All right, because he's cursed. And it's the same now dealing with the Edomites, man. The earth can't yield its true strength because the earth is being ran by the wicked. It says a fugitive and a vagabond shall thou be in the earth, right? So pretty much from that point, Cain has been fleeing from judgment. All right. And he wouldn't have a true homeland. He would be pretty much restless and all over the earth as he is now, as his descendants are now. Verse 13, and Cain said unto the Lord, Yahweh Shemel Shah, my punishment is greater than I can bear. Behold, thou hast driven me out this day from the face of the earth, and from thy face shall I be hid, and I shall be a fugitive and a vagabond in the earth, a wanderer. And it shall come to pass that everyone that findeth me shall slay me. Verse 15, the point. And the Lord Yahweh Shemel Shah said unto him, therefore whosoever slayeth Cain, vengeance shall be taken on him sevenfold. And the Lord Yahweh Shemel Shah set a mark upon Cain, lest any finding him should kill him. Right? So that mark that was placed upon Cain was Cain. It resulted in Cain losing his pigmentation. Okay, his melanin. That's what that goes into. And I find it funny, right? As all of these social constructs are being torn down by the spirit of truth, and how Esau used that false narrative to proclaim his so-called whiteness as being pure and all of that. It's all being found out. All right, that these so-called white people are actually the cursed people. The cursed seed of Cain. All right, that came back as the Edomites, man. You see that? These Edomites have that mark of Cain. All right, going into that leprosy. And what's heavy, and I played a video. I had done a lesson on it about a few years ago, but I was just looking up the mark of Cain. I said mark of Cain was leprosy, and this is what the Chat GPT gave me. So it gave us the verse that we just read in Genesis 4:11 through 15, right? But I just want to read this part here. Ancient interpretations. It says throughout history, different groups have speculated on what the quote mark was. Some ancient Hebrew and rabbinic tradition suggested it could have been a skin change or affliction, similar to leprosy, right? It says, which often resulted in the skin turning white. See Leviticus 13. See? Others believe it was a tattoo-like mark, a horn, or even a spiritual sign visible only to others through divine means, right? So it goes back to that mark of leprosy, as we were reading right here, right? And the Elder Apostle Har, he goes into it real quick, and I want to play that too. All right. I did this lesson back in 2019, right? But check this out.
Ye turn back, dwell deep, O inhabitants of Dedan, for I will bring the calamity of...
These are lands of T-Man, Dedan, Bozrah. Those are ancient lands back in the east where Esau used to dwell. Now we know that the Most High is not talking about the ancient lands. He's talking about the lands now. So Bozrah, Temanites, talking about the Edomites, mainly the Germans, because they were the brains of the Edomites. Go ahead.
It says, for I will bring the calamity of Esau upon him, the time that I will visit him.
Yeah, so the Most High is getting ready to visit you Edomites. And you are the red Hebrew Edomites.
Con.
You are the Edomites. You're not white people, you know?
You're not an off-white?
You're not European. You're not an off-white. You're not a beige. You're red. You're different. Really, actually, you're pale, and the red blood shows through your skin. That's why you look red, all right?
Yeah, that goes back to the curse the Lord put on Canaan.
Yep.
Cain.
Yep.
So there you go. Can't get around it, man. You know, hey, those strongholds are being debunked. They're being torn down. You know, so that's what I was thinking about, man. Again, the so-called white supremacy myths destroyed, man. Right? The irony of it all, right? They talk about us being the cursed people. Really is you Edomites. You were cursed with that leprosy, man. That white skin, so-called, right? That pale red skin. You see? Let's play some more.
People from Africa were brown-skinned. White supremacy, to me, was just, I am that pure lineage straight from Adam and Eve. I literally believed that my pure bloodline went back to Adam and Eve. Adam was handmade by God. God formed him out of the dust. And in the Bible, when it says that God made Adam in his image, to me as a Christian and a believer in the Bible, literally, that Adam and Eve was literal, that Heavenly Father was literal. I believed that God was white. I believed that Jesus was white. And so when they made man in his image, then they made a white man. In the Mormon temple, I would watch videos that showed Adam and Eve in the garden, and Eve had long blonde hair, just like me. She looked like Erica Kirk in a little like suede dress that looked like something a Navajo would have worn.
Man. All right, real quick. Isaiah 28. 17. Isaiah 28:17. Judgment also will I lay to the line, and righteousness to the plummet. And the hail shall sweep away the refuge of lies. All right, this truth is sweeping away all the refuge of lies, all the false narratives. Okay, the like the elder said, the social control, the social construct, the social constructs, they're all being broken. You know. It says, and the hail shall sweep away the refuge of lies, and the water shall overflow the hiding place. All right, they talk about Adam being white. As she was saying, she believed that Adam and Eve was white, and right? Well, check this out.
Now Frank Bender can show us what he might have looked like. His goal is not just to sculpt Adam, but to reveal his personality.
I tried to get into his head just like I would a fugitive. Intuition is the binder between art and science. It's the part that pulls it all together and gives it that life, that spark. I picture him very much alive and with a lot of the basic feelings that we have today. Confidence at one point, insecurity at another.
Finally, Wells comes face to face with the man he's been searching for. A new portrait of the common ancestor of every man today. Adam. Without the skull, we can't know for sure what Adam looked like. But a combination of genetic evidence, Bender's forensic skills, and cutting-edge computer software suggests he looked something like this. Thousands of years after the Bible, and hundreds of years after Michelangelo, we have a whole new face for Adam.
I like the expression. He's got a very forceful look. He's intent on something, maybe taking over the world. You begin to get perhaps an insight into why these guys won out and why this guy's our ancestor.
Science can't tell for sure what set Adam apart. There were other men who lived alongside him. But over the centuries, all the other men's lines died out. Maybe some had only daughters, or no children at all. Their Y chromosomes were lost forever. Only Adam's lineage survives.
There you go. So-called white supremacy debunked. All right. And we are that lineage, of Adam, the sons of God. All right. All the way through Adam, Seth, our fact set, the lineage of Shem, all the way down to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. All right. And the 12 tribes. That's our line. That's what we go back to. Right. So like I said, it's just all of this madness is just being, cut up with truth, man. Again. Right. Not to be all over the place. Right. But I just wanted to put that together, Lord willing, it was edifying. All right. Deuteronomy 33 in verse 29, it says, "Happy art thou, O Israel, who is like unto thee, O people saved by the Lord, Yahweh Shem Yahushai, the shield of thy help, and who is the sword of thy excellency, and thy enemies shall be found liars unto thee, and thou shalt tread upon their high places." All right. So that's pretty much the point, man. That's that's what I was thinking about as I saw this lesson from the Elder Malcolm, man. All right, all of that stuff is all of these social constructs are being ripped apart and torn down, man. Shalom.